My son uninvited me to his wedding on speakerphone in front of 8 witnesses. I was hosting the Potomac Children's Hospital Charity Gala Committee meeting in my living room. 8 women from some of the wealthiest families in Maryland, all watching as my phone rang. It was Kendrick. "Mom, look, I can't invite you." His voice sounded tight, rehearsed. "Kendrick, you're on speaker," I said calmly. "I don't care." His voice cracked. "You aren't invited to my wedding, Mom. My wife doesn't want to see your face." The room went silent. Then I heard her. Jasmine, screaming from somewhere in the background, her voice shrill and venomous. "Tell her she's cut off, Ken. Tell her we don't need her toxic money." 8 pairs of eyes stared at me. I felt my chest tighten, my pulse hammering in my ears, but I kept my voice steady. "Apologies, everyone," I said, ending the call with a single tap. "It seems I have some accounting to do. Keep watching, because what I found wasn't just a gold digger." I'm Rowena Thorpe. I'm 66 years old, a retired forensic accountant for the Department of Justice in Potomac, Maryland. I spent 32 years dismantling RICO cases and corporate asset recovery schemes. I've seen financial predators destroy families, businesses, entire communities, but I never thought I'd watch one destroy my son. 28 minutes after that call, I was in my study. My hands weren't shaking. They never do. I learned a long time ago that rage is most effective when it's cold. I opened my laptop and logged into the Thorpe Family Trust dashboard. Current balance, $2.4 million. Monthly outflow to Kendrick, $12,000 for his condo, car payment, and living allowance. I typed in my administrator password. Status, frozen. Every account, every card, every automatic payment, done. Then I saw it. A pending transaction request initiated by Kendrick 1 hour before his call. $50,000 for an emergency legal retainer. My son is a software developer. Why does he need a $50,000 legal retainer? The mouse cursor hovered over the approval button. I clicked deny. Have you ever had to choose between saving someone and letting them hit rock bottom? Keep watching, because I chose the nuclear option. I reached for my phone and dialed a number I hadn't called in 3 years. It rang twice. "Rowena." Mac Holloway's voice was gravely, like bourbon over ice. "Didn't expect to hear from you on a Friday afternoon. I need a ghost protocol." Silence. Then, "On who?" "Jasmine Lowery, 29 years old, claims to be an art consultant, engaged to my son." Mac exhaled slowly. "Rowena, this feels personal." "It is," I said. My voice finally cracked, just slightly. "That's why I need you." "What am I looking for?" "Everything. Social Security verification, employment history, property records, anyone she's listed as family. She has a brother named Trey who's supposedly helping Kendrick with some business venture. I want him too." I heard the sound of Mac opening a drawer, pulling out a notepad. The scratch of a pen. "How deep?" he asked. "Forensic. I want to know what she ate for breakfast in 2019. "You sure about this?" I stared at the frozen account screen. My son's entire financial lifeline, cut off with a password and a mouse click. "She took my son in public, Mac, in front of my colleagues. She knew exactly what she was doing." "What'd you find so far?" "A $50,000 legal retainer request he initiated right before calling to uninvite me to his wedding, and a fiancé who screams about toxic money while trying to extract it." Mac was quiet for a moment. "I'll have something for you in 48 hours. 24. "Rowena, they moved the wedding up 6 months, Mac. It's November 28th, and Thanksgiving weekend. Whatever she's planning, she's in a hurry." I heard him sigh. He knew that tone. It was the same one I used when I was 3 layers deep into a money laundering case and could smell the endgame. 24 hours, he agreed. "Stay sharp, Ro. If this is what I think it is." "I know what it is," I said quietly. "I just need you to prove it." I hung up and poured myself 2 fingers of bourbon. The ice clinked against the glass, too loud in the silent room. What I found wasn't just a gold digger. It was an organized criminal enterprise targeting my family's wealth. And my son was the entry point. If you've ever watched someone you love get manipulated by a predator, you know this rage. Hit that subscribe button if you're ready to see how a forensic accountant dismantles a con artist, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. If you're still not subscribing, tell me, what's holding you back? Let me take you back to the beginning, to when I first met the woman who would try to destroy my family. I should have seen it 6 months earlier. The day she walked into my house. May 15th, 2024. Kendrick had been dating Jasmine for 3 months, and he was bringing her to meet me for the first time. I was making coffee in the kitchen when I heard his voice, higher than usual, almost manic with excitement. "Mom, Jasmine's incredible. She gets me." He'd said that about every girlfriend since college, but something about the way he said it this time made my stomach tighten. Then I heard her voice, smooth, polished, warm like honey over a blade. "Mrs. Thorpe, Kendrick talks about your career all the time. You must be so proud of what you built." I walked into the living room. Jasmine was standing near my bookshelves, her fingers trailing over the spines like she was cataloging inventory. "Thank you," I said. "Coffee?" "I'd love some." Kendrick mentioned the family trust. That must be such a comfort, knowing he's secure. 3 minutes. She'd been in my house for 3 minutes, and she was already asking about the trust. Kendrick didn't notice. He was beaming, holding her hand like she might evaporate. "Jasmine's mother never had financial independence," she continued. "I swore I'd build mine. It's why I admire strong women like you." Every word felt rehearsed, practiced. Like she'd delivered this exact speech before. "What kind of art do you consult on?" I asked. She smiled. "Contemporary acquisitions. High net worth clients, mostly. Private collections." "Which gallery do you work with?" Her smile didn't waver. "I'm freelance. It gives me more flexibility. No gallery name, no client references, no specifics." Kendrick jumped in. "She's amazing, Mom. She helped one of her clients acquire a piece that sold for $500,000. I nodded, smiled, played the supportive mother. But inside, every instinct I'd honed over 3 decades was screaming. Why does a 29-year-old art consultant care about trust fund structures? I didn't know it then, but that question would save my son's life and cost me everything. You need to understand something about Kendrick. My husband died when our son was 14 years old. September 2006. Massive heart attack in the driveway. Kendrick watched through the kitchen window while I performed CPR until the paramedics arrived. Too late. I raised him alone after that. Built the Thorpe family trust using my DOJ salary and every penny of the life insurance. By the time Kendrick turned 21, there was $2.4 million waiting for him. Protected, structured, safe. But here's what I did wrong. I solved every problem with a check. Rent? Covered. Car trouble? Fixed. Bad investment? Bailed out. I taught him how to spot financial fraud in spreadsheets, but I never taught him how to spot emotional fraud in a relationship. He graduated from the University of Maryland in 2014 with a computer science degree. Smart kid. Talented programmer, but every girlfriend he brought home had the same quality. They loved his wallet more than his personality. At 32 years old, he was still collecting $12,000 a month from the trust. Still believing that people who smiled at him had good intentions. God, I should have cut him off years ago. Let him struggle. Let him learn. But I didn't. And that's how Jasmine found him. March 2024. 8 months before that speakerphone disaster. Kendrick called me on a Tuesday morning, his voice humming with excitement. "Mom, I want you to meet someone. Can we come by this weekend?" "Of course," I said. "Who is she?" "Her name's Jasmine. We've been together 3 months. And Mom? She's different. She gets me." I'd heard that before. Saturday afternoon, they showed up at my house in Potomac. I heard them coming up the walkway, Kendrick's nervous laugh carrying through the door. When I opened it, Jasmine was standing beside him. Polished. Put together. Her voice was smooth when she spoke, warm like honey over a blade. "Mrs. Thorpe, it's such an honor to finally meet you. Kendrick talks about your career all the time. You must be so proud of what you built." We sat in the living room. I made coffee. Kendrick couldn't stop touching her hand, holding it like she might disappear. "Jasmine's an art consultant," he said. "She works with high net worth clients. Private collections." "How interesting," I said. "Which gallery do you work with?" Her smile didn't waver. "I'm freelance. It gives me more flexibility. No gallery name, no client references, no specifics." Then she said it, 3 minutes into the conversation. Kendrick mentioned the family trust. That must be such a comfort knowing he's secure. My mother never had financial independence. I swore I'd build mine. It's why I admire strong women like you. My stomach tightened. She was interviewing me, cataloging assets, running an audit disguised as admiration. I'd love to help Kendrick manage his finances, Jasmine continued. I have experience with high net worth clients, and honestly, men are terrible at planning. Kendrick laughed. She's not wrong, Mom. I smiled, nodded, played the supportive mother, but every instinct I'd honed over 30 years at the DOJ was screaming. Something about her voice felt rehearsed, practiced, like she'd delivered this exact performance before. I didn't say anything that day. I told myself I was being paranoid, overprotective. I was wrong. June 2024, 5 months before the call, my phone rang at 9 p.m. on a Thursday. Kendrick. His voice was rushed, defensive before I even said hello. Hey, Mom. So, Jasmine moved in with me. I set down my wine glass. Already, you've been together 4 months. When you know, he said. His voice had that edge to it, the one he used when he expected me to object. And listen, there's something else. Jasmine's brother Trey is helping me expand my app business. He's connected. Knows venture capital guys? This could be my big break. I'd like to meet him, I said carefully. Run a background check. Make sure. Mom, his voice went sharp. Cold. Not everyone needs a security clearance to be in my life. You don't trust anyone. Kendrick, I gotta go. Jasmine needs me. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, my chest tight. That wasn't my son. That was someone else's script coming out of his mouth. And then everything started changing fast. July 12th, 2024, noon. I drove to Kendrick's condo with chicken salad and lemon cake. I parked across the street, engine idling, reaching for my phone to text him. That's when I saw her at the mailboxes. Jasmine's hands moved fast through the envelopes, metallic clinks, paper rustling. Then I heard it, the hollow slap of something hitting the trash can beside the entrance. Once, twice, 3 times. She walked back inside without looking around. I waited 2 minutes. Then I crossed the street and opened the trash can lid. 3 sealed envelopes, all addressed to Kendrick. Bank statement, credit card offer, brokerage notice. My throat tightened. She's controlling what he sees. August 10th, 2024, my 66th birthday. I sat alone at our usual restaurant in Bethesda for 45 minutes. Around me, families laughed. Silverware clinked. Someone sang happy birthday off-key at another table. At 7:40 p.m., the waiter's voice softened with pity. Would you like to order, ma'am? A chair scraped across from me. Mac sat down. Happy birthday, he said quietly. My chest ached. He's never missed this. That's not like him, Mac said. No, it's not. At 9:02 p.m., my phone buzzed. Sorry, Mom, Jasmine had an emergency. Rain check? I stepped outside and called him. 2 rings, then, hello? Jasmine's voice, flat, bored. Put Kendrick on. He's busy. He'll call you back. It's my birthday. We had plans. A pause. TV noise in the background. Rowena, he's just really focused on the business right now. You understand. She hung up. When was the last time someone made you feel guilty for setting boundaries? Drop a comment if you've dealt with a manipulator like this. I stared at my phone, my stomach burning. He's not missing this by accident. He's being managed. August 25th, 2024. I opened the trust portal. My office fan hummed. Papers rustled under my hands. There it was. New line item, starting in July. Home maintenance allowance, $5,000. July invoice. Roofing repair, $3,200. August. Landscape redesign, $800. I clicked the vendor details. Both LLCs registered 30 days before billing. Registered agent, UPS Store, Delaware. This is money laundering 101, I muttered. Who taught her this? I grabbed my keys and drove to his building. When I pulled up, the roof looked untouched. The landscaping was identical to March. Same patchy grass, same uneven stones. No $5,000 in repairs. My hands tightened on the wheel. She's testing how much she can steal before I notice. September 8th, 2024. Kendrick asked to meet at a Georgetown coffee shop. Rare. He arrived on time, footsteps quick, energy manic. Mom, I have news. My heart sped up. Tell me. My startup's being acquired. $5 million. Apex Holdings. Closing next month. My stomach dropped. Who is Apex Holdings? A holding company. Trey handled it. His voice rushed. I don't need the trust anymore. I'm going to be self-made. Behind him, I heard a chair scrape. Jasmine, watching from a nearby table. You always said I should stand on my own, Kendrick continued. Well, I'm about to. Let me review the purchase agreement, I said. That's standard. His voice hardened. You don't trust me. You never have. From behind him, Jasmine's voice floated over. Rowena, maybe it's time to let him grow up. My jaw clenched. This is about making sure you're not being exploited. He pushed his chair back. The legs scraped the floor. Trey believes in me. You don't. He left. That's when I understood how far she'd gotten. He wasn't arguing as my son. He was defending her investment. September 15th, 2024. Mac dropped a folder on my desk. Heavy. Final. You were right to freeze the trust, he said. My throat tightened. What did you find? 3 different social security numbers in 5 years. One belongs to a woman who died in 1998. My heart pounded so hard I felt it in my jaw. Employment? No art consulting. Luxury car dealerships, yacht clubs, target-rich environments. He slid another document over. Florida civil case, 2021. A man sued her for fraud. They were engaged. Private settlement. Can we unseal it? Not without alerting her. I inhaled sharply. My chest ached. So she's done this before. At least once we can prove, he said. I'm digging into Trey next. Do it fast. They moved the wedding to Thanksgiving. He paused. If she's done this before, Kendrick isn't a fiancé. He's a mark. If you're thinking, no way this is real, keep watching. It gets worse. Hit subscribe because you need to see what a forensic accountant does to a fraud ring. If you're still not subscribing, tell me in the comments, what's holding you back? That was the day I stopped hoping and started preparing for war. September 22nd, 2024. My phone rang after dinner. Hey, Mom. Kendrick's voice, too bright. Good news. The wedding's sooner. November 28th, Thanksgiving weekend. My chest tightened. That's barely 2 months away. The venue had a cancellation. Jasmine's always dreamed of a Thanksgiving wedding. This is very sudden, Kendrick. You're just trying to control me. Sharp now. Jasmine said you'd do this. Do what? Make everything about money instead of being happy for me. I heard her voice in the background, low, feeding him lines. Moving a wedding up by 6 months isn't romance, I said. It's urgency. See, this is exactly what she meant. The line went dead. Moving up a wedding by 6 months? That's not romance. That's urgency. Tell me in the comments, what's the biggest red flag you ignored? I stood in my kitchen, phone in hand, pulse thudding. I wasn't just fighting a woman, I was fighting a timeline. October 5th, 2024, I texted Kendrick. Lunch this week? Just us. Wedding planning. 5 minutes later, his number called. Not his voice. Rowena, Jasmine said, sharp enough to cut. We need to talk. Where is my son? He's here, but I'm handling this. Handling what? You've been investigating me. That's harassment, Rowena. I've been auditing financial irregularities, I said. Ice cold. That's due diligence. You don't like me because I'm black. Her voice rose, weaponized. If you keep questioning me, I'll tell everyone you're a racist who hates me, and I'll ruin your reputation in this town. My blood ran cold. This has nothing to do with your race. It has to do with forged invoices and a fake buyout. Silence. Half a second. Then, Kendrick knows who you really are now. You're cut off. Hard click. Call ended. Have you ever been accused of something you didn't do just to shut you down? That's the narcissist playbook. Comment yes if you've been there. That accusation wasn't a conversation. It was insurance. So no one would listen when I told the truth. October 18th, 2024, 10:12 a.m. Mac's voice came through my phone. Urgent. I'm outside Capitol Bridge lending. Your boy just walked in with Trey. Cold wave through my chest. What kind of lender? Predatory. High interest. Short term. What are they doing? Applying for a $200,000 bridge loan. Collateral. Kendrick's future inheritance. My heartbeat pounded in my throat. He can't use that as collateral. He has no legal access. Lender doesn't know that. I dialed the lending office. Introduced myself as trustee. My voice stayed calm, but every muscle felt like wire. Kendrick Thorpe has no authority to pledge future trust distributions. Any loan executed on that basis is voidable. Proceeding puts your firm at legal risk. Pause. Keyboard tapping. Throat clearing. We'll review the file. 30 minutes later, Kendrick called. He didn't say hello. You blocked my loan? Shouting. Voice shaking. I needed that for the Apex deal. There is no Apex deal, Kendrick, I said. Level, it's a shell company Trey created. You're sabotaging my life. I'm trying to ensure you don't spend 10 years paying interest on money you never needed. He hung up. The silence after was louder than the shouting. That was the moment he stopped seeing me as his mother and started seeing me as the obstacle. Which brings us back to November 1st, 2024. The committee in my living room, my phone ringing. You aren't invited to my wedding, Mom. My wife doesn't want to see your face. Tell her she's cut off, Ken. Tell her we don't need her toxic money. The room went silent. Chairs creaked. I apologize, I said. Family business. An older woman spoke gently. Rowena, are you all right? I inhaled slowly. Spine straight. I've handled RICO cases. I can handle this. I stood. My heels clicked down the hall toward my study. I closed the door, sat at my desk, opened the trust dashboard. Status: frozen. I didn't unfreeze it. In that moment, it became clear. This wasn't about a wedding invitation. It was a race between how fast they could bleed my son dry and how fast I could prove what they really were. By the morning after that speakerphone ambush, my anger had cooled into something much more dangerous. November 2nd, 2024, 7:30 a.m. My coffee was still too hot to drink when I opened my laptop in my study and typed 2 words into the search bar. Apex Holdings. Nothing. No website. No LinkedIn page. No press releases. No tech blog mentions. A supposedly $5 million acquisition, and the internet was treating it like it didn't exist. I pulled up the PDF Kendrick had shown me weeks earlier on his phone. That letter of intent he'd flashed like a golden ticket. I zoomed in on the header, reading the address they'd used for Apex Holdings. A strip mall address in Wilmington, Delaware. I've spent enough time around corporate shells to know what that usually means. I opened the Delaware Business Registry and typed in Apex Holdings. There it was. Newly formed, 4 months old, registered agent, T. Holloway Services. My stomach tightened. If Trey registered the buyer, I muttered, then Kendrick is selling his company to his girlfriend's family. That's not a buyout. That's a transfer scam. I dug deeper, cross-referenced T. Holloway with other entities at the same UPS store address. 3 more LLCs popped up, all formed in the last year. One of them matched the roofing vendor that billed Kendrick's trust for $3,200. I searched for employment history under Trey Holloway. Nothing credible. No LinkedIn. No professional footprint. Just a ghost name attached to shell companies. It hit me like a slow, cold wave. Trey wasn't just Jasmine's brother. He was her partner in crime. I thought Trey was just the enabler. I had no idea he was the husband. Stay with me. 3 days later, my phone rang at 8:15 a.m. Mac. Short, clipped voice. Get over here. Now. By 9 a.m., I was in his office. The place smelled like burned coffee and printer toner. A scanner whirred in the background. Mac slid a sheet of paper across his desk. I heard the soft scrape of it against the wood. Read the names, he said. It was a marriage certificate. Clark County, Nevada, dated June 2020. Groom, Trey Allen Holloway. Bride, Tiffany Elaine Barnes. Who's Tiffany? I asked. He flipped another page. Alias list, he said. Driver's license photo matches Jasmine. Tiffany is her legal name. Jasmine is her working name. My throat went dry. How long have they been married? 4 years, he said. And that's not all. He pulled out another document, another marriage certificate. Florida, 2018. Same groom, Trey Allen Holloway. Different bride, different name. A note scribbled across the corner in Mac's handwriting. Divorce 2019. Plaintiff alleged financial fraud and coercion. Sealed settlement. Pattern, I said quietly. My heart pounded, slow and heavy. He marries, bleeds them, settles, disappears. Mac tapped the Nevada certificate. This time he married his partner, he said. They work together now. Trey plays the mentor. Jasmine plays the girlfriend. They isolate the mark, drain the money, then vanish. How many times? I asked. 3 that I can confirm, he said. Papers rustled as he flipped through the file. Florida fiancé, a yacht club manager in Texas, and now Kendrick. My hands were trembling. I pressed them flat against my knees to stop the shaking. We need everything, I said. Bank records, phone records, travel history. I want a timeline of every dollar they've touched. Mac exhaled slowly. Already in motion, he said, but this... He tapped the marriage certificate again. This is your smoking gun. He was right, because you can explain away a late payment. You can explain away a bad investment. You can't explain away being secretly married to your fiancé's business mentor. 2 days later, another lie cracked. On October 2nd, Kendrick had sent me a text. Jasmine's pregnant, Mom. We wanted to wait, but I'm going to be a father. Back then, my heart had flipped. Pain and worry tangled together. My hands had actually shaken when I read it. On November 8th, my hands were steady. I sat at my desk with my insurance portal open. Kendrick was still on my plan for medical coverage. My old DOJ colleague, Anita, now worked in healthcare fraud analysis for one of the big insurers. I called her. "Anita, it's Rowena." She laughed softly. "The only person who could make me miss spreadsheets. What's going on?" "I need a favor," I said. "Think of it as elder abuse adjacent." Her tone shifted, more serious. "Say no more. What do you need?" "I need verification of a pregnancy claim for a dependent on my policy," I said. "Name, Jasmine Lowery. Birth date 1995, listed as my son's domestic partner." Keys clicked on her end. "Give me a few hours," she said. "I'll call you back." Those few hours stretched like days. I found myself tapping my pen against the desk, a slow, irritated rhythm. At 3:27 p.m., my phone rang. "Rowena?" "Yes." "There's no pregnancy," Anita said. "No prenatal visits, no OB billing, nothing." My stomach dropped, but I stayed silent. "But," she continued, "there is a tubal ligation in her file. Outpatient surgery, March 2020. My heart slammed against my ribs. "Say that again," I said. "She had her tubes tied 4 years ago," Anita said. "She cannot get pregnant without surgical reversal, and there's no record of that." I closed my eyes. The baby wasn't a surprise blessing. It was a calculated hook. The oldest play in the book: promise a family, manufacture urgency, secure the wedding, secure access to generational wealth. "Thank you, Anita," I said. "You may have just saved my son's future children from existing solely as leverage." I hung up and sat in the silence for a long time. Every lie was calculated. If you've ever been gaslit, you know this feeling. Comment "I see you" if this hits home. You need to understand something. When someone is willing to lie about a pregnancy, they're not just bending the truth. They're weaponizing hope. By November 12th, I wasn't satisfied with digital evidence. I wanted paper, ink, stamps, something a judge couldn't dismiss as speculative. So I drove to the Fairfax County Records Office. The air inside was too cold. Printers hummed. People whispered over forms and numbers they barely understood. "I need to see a notarized document connected to an acquisition," I told the clerk. "Letter of intent, filed under my son's name, Kendrick Thorpe." He tapped at his keyboard, then shuffled off to a back room. When he returned, he laid a thin file on the counter. I opened it and pulled out the letter of intent. Same fake Apex header. Same Delaware address. My eyes went to the bottom. Notary seal, J. Lowery, Notary Public. My chest tightened. "Can I verify this, notary?" I asked. The clerk slid the document closer, adjusted his glasses, and peered at the stamp. "State?" he asked. "Maryland," I said. "Or Virginia. She lives between both." He turned to his computer again, typing. Pages turned as he checked a printed registry. After a minute, he made a small, doubtful sound. "Yeah? No," he said. "There's no active commission under that name in either state. Not under that license number either." "So what does that mean?" I asked, already knowing. "It means whoever made this stamp," he said, "didn't bother registering it. This isn't a real notary. This document is decorative. In other words, void." I pulled out my phone and took a series of slow, deliberate photos. Each click of the shutter felt like another nail in the coffin of their deal. "Thank you," I said. I walked out with proof that the buyout wasn't just shady. It was legally dead on arrival. 2 days later, Mac put the last major piece of the financial puzzle in front of me. November 14th, 2024. His office again. The whiteboard on his wall was covered in arrows and numbers. He tapped the first box. "Kendrick's trust account," he said. "We've got 6 months of home maintenance payments, $5,000 per month." He traced the arrow. "That money goes to Blue Ridge Roofing LLC," he said. "Registered in Delaware at the same UPS store as Apex Holdings." Another arrow. "From there," he continued, "funds move into an account under Trey Holloway's name." My pulse thudded in my ears. "And then?" I asked. He tapped the final arrow. "Then it goes offshore," he said. "Cayman Islands account. Last 6 digits 449021. Same account received wire transfers tied to those other 2 fraud cases I mentioned." "How much so far?" I asked. "About $30,000 through the fake repairs," he said. "If they got that loan, they'd push another $200,000 through inside a week." He flipped another page. "And this one," he said, "is VM Consulting, registered in Florida. It's been receiving regular $15,000 deposits from Trey's account for 2 years." "What is it?" I asked. "Silence," he said. That's the entity that paid out the last fiancé in their Florida lawsuit. Blackmail money. Hush money. Pick your term. I stared at the web of arrows. They weren't just stealing from Kendrick. They were using him to refuel an existing machine. At this point, I said slowly, this isn't a gold digger situation. This is organized crime, Mac finished. At this point, I realized this wasn't just a gold digger. This was organized crime. Comment if you see where this is going. The wedding, I said. They need that ceremony. They need legal status to make certain claims stick. And they need that loan, Mac said. The lending appointment is scheduled the morning of the wedding. Bridal suite. Private signing. Then they walked down the aisle with his signature already on the paper. My hands were steady now. Rage had burned through the fear. Not if I get there first, I said. On November 18th, I made one last attempt to save my son without blowing up his life in public. Same coffee shop in Georgetown where he'd announced the Apex deal. I got there early, ordered black coffee. My hands shook just enough that I had to grip the cup with both palms to keep it steady. I laid out the evidence folder on the table. Marriage certificate, Trey and Tiffany Barnes, alias Jasmine, fake notary document, tubal ligation medical record summary, money flow chart from trust to Cayman Islands. Kendrick arrived 5 minutes late. His voice was flat when he said, Mom. Sit, I said quietly. Please. He sat. The chair legs scraped the floor. Please. I opened the folder and slid the marriage certificate toward him. Look at this, I said. Nevada, 2020, Trey and Jasmine. She's been married to him for 4 years. He stared down. His breathing quickened. I heard it. This is fake, he said finally. You hired someone to Photoshop this. It came from the Nevada State Records Office, I said. Here's the case number. Call them. I slid the medical record summary next. You texted me that Jasmine was pregnant, I said. She's not. She had a tubal ligation in 2020. She can't carry a pregnancy without reversal. There is no reversal. He pushed the paper back. You're sick. His voice shook. You dug into her medical records? I protected my policy, I said. And my grandson, who doesn't exist. I slid the money chart over. This is where your home repair money is going, I said. From your trust to Trey to an offshore account tied to 2 other fraud cases. He stood so fast his chair scraped loudly across the floor. No, he said. You can't stand that I finally have a life without you writing the checks. Kendrick, I said. My voice cracked for the first time. I am begging you. Don't sign anything. Don't marry her until you verify this yourself. He took one step back. Jasmine was right about you, he said. You will burn the world down before you admit you're the problem. He walked out. The door closed behind him with a soft thud. He left every piece of evidence on the table. If you've ever watched someone you love choose their abuser over you, you know that feeling. Tell me in the comments if you've lived that moment. I gathered the papers back into the folder. If he wouldn't use the truth, I would. By November 20th, the wedding was 8 days away. I called Mac from my study. The printer hummed beside me, spitting out duplicate sets of everything we had. He didn't believe me, I said. Not surprising, Mac replied. They've isolated him. We're going to the wedding, I said. You weren't invited, he said. There was a hint of dry humor in his voice. I don't need an invitation, I said. I need 2 sheriff's deputies and a process server. He went quiet for a moment. Walk me through it, he said. The venue is a rented estate in Fairfax County, I said. They're planning to have him sign the loan documents in the bridal suite before the ceremony. We stop that signing. We serve them with fraud documentation, and we don't do any of it alone. You want law enforcement present, Mac said. I want witnesses, I said. People who can't be gaslit afterward. He chuckled softly, a short, approving sound. All right, he said. I'll talk to a friend in the sheriff's office. 2 deputies, off-duty but in uniform. And I know a process server who loves dramatic entrances. I'll bring the evidence, I said. Marriage certificate, fake notary, money trail, medical proof. We're going to lay it out where everyone can hear it. Rowena, he said, voice serious now, you sure you can handle watching your son's world detonate in real time? My hands were shaking when I started this, I said. They're not shaking anymore. I snapped the briefcase latches shut around the stack of documents. Record everything, Mac, I said. Every word. Every reaction. You really are going to turn his wedding into a crime scene, he said. It's already a crime scene, I answered. I'm just bringing the paperwork. You're about to watch a forensic accountant crash a wedding with sheriffs and a money trail. Hit subscribe if you're ready for this showdown, and tell me in the comments if you're on Rowena's side. If you're still not subscribing, tell me. What's holding you back? The morning of November 28th, 2024, my hands weren't shaking. My stomach still tightened when we turned into the estate drive in Fairfax County, but the fear that used to come with that sensation was gone. In its place was something colder. Mac drove. A sheriff's cruiser followed close behind us, tires grinding over the gravel. I could hear the low murmur of a police radio under the engine. This is really happening, Mac said quietly. It was always going to happen, I said. The only question was who would show up first, me or the bankruptcy court. We parked. Doors opened. The two deputies climbed out of their car, Harris and Lowell, uniforms crisp, boots heavy on the stones. You're sure about this, ma'am? Deputy Harris asked as we started up the path. Crashing a wedding is unusual. It's not a wedding, I said. It's a financial crime with champagne. Mac let out a short laugh. Trust her, he told them. She eats fraud for breakfast. The estate was dressed up for a fairy tale. I could hear staff moving tables under the white tent, someone testing music, distant laughter from guests who had no idea what they were walking into. The loan signing is scheduled upstairs in the bridal suite, I said. You have the injunction. Once we confirm the documents, you stop the signing and secure the evidence. I'll handle the rest. Deputy Lowell tapped the folder under his arm. Judge signed it last night, he said. As long as the paperwork matches what you gave us, we're covered. Have you ever walked toward a building knowing you're about to set fire to everyone's story about what's happening inside? That's what each step up that stone path felt like. And the match wasn't even lit yet. By 9:45 a.m., we were outside the bridal suite on the second floor. We could hear voices behind the closed door. One of them was my son's. Just sign there, Mr. Thorpe, a man's voice said. Had to be the notary. Initial on each page. Kendrick's voice came next, tight and strained. So this locks in the funds before the ceremony? Trey's deeper tone followed. Exactly. Paperwork first, party after. That was enough. Deputy Harris didn't knock. He twisted the handle and shoved the door open so hard it hit the stopper with a crack. Sheriff's office, he said. Nobody move. The room froze. Kendrick sat at a small table in a tux, pen in hand over a stack of documents. Jasmine stood behind him in a dress, the rustle of fabric sharp as she spun toward us. Trey stood on the other side of the table, close to the notary, who jumped to his feet so fast his chair scraped hard against the floor. What is this? Jasmine screamed. Get out! This is private property! Don't sign that loan, Kendrick, I said, stepping into the room. He sucked in a breath. Mom, what are you doing here? You're trespassing, Jasmine shouted. Someone call security. We are security, ma'am, Deputy Harris said. We have a court order regarding suspected fraudulent financial documents and improper use of trust collateral. That's harassment, Trey snapped. His voice tried to sound authoritative and landed squarely on rattled. You can't storm in here in the middle of a legal signing. Mac's voice came in dry and amused. Sit down, Trey, he said. Or should I call you Mr. Holloway? That's the name on your marriage certificate with Jasmine, right? The air shifted. The notary muttered, "Oh, hell," under his breath and took a small step back from the table. If you've ever watched the moment a con artist realizes the room isn't theirs anymore, you know that silence that follows. And that silence was exactly where I wanted them. Kendrick, I said, I need you to listen to me for 30 seconds. His breathing sounded rough. I could hear the barely audible click of the pen as he fidgeted with it. I don't have time for this, he said. We're about to sign. You're about to hand them $200,000 you don't have, I cut in, and you'll spend the next decade paying it back. That's not true, he said. This is part of the Apex deal. I pulled a stapled packet from my folder and dropped it on the table so it landed right in front of him. Here's Apex Holdings in the Delaware Corporate Registry, I said. Registered 60 days ago. Address? UPS store. Owner of record? I tapped the printed line with my finger. Trey Allen Holloway. Kendrick's voice shook. Trey? It's a standard acquisition vehicle, Trey said quickly. You don't understand how these deals work, Rowena. I understand shells, I said. I understand pass-through fraud. And I understand that when the borrower defaults on this loan, the lender will sue my son, not your little mail drop corporation. Mac chimed in. I also understand that this exact pattern matches 2 prior civil fraud cases tied to your offshore accounts, Trey. Just tell me she's lying, Kendrick said. His voice was thin. Please. Trey went silent. Jasmine's breathing sped up behind him. I could hear her heel tapping against the floor, a nervous staccato rhythm she probably didn't realize she was making. You know that feeling when someone pauses just a second too long before answering a simple question? That pause tells you more than anything they say afterward, and Kendrick heard that pause. Mac stepped forward and opened a manila folder with a soft crack. And that's only the first problem, he said, because Trey isn't who you think he is. He pulled out a single-page document and let it drop onto the table. Take a look, he said. Kendrick picked it up. The paper rustled in his shaking hands. Clark County, Nevada, he read. Marriage certificate. Groom, Trey Allen Holloway. Bride, Tiffany Elaine Barnes. His voice faltered. Who is Tiffany? That's her, I said. It's Jasmine's legal name. The photo on the license matches her driver's license. She changed names to run the same play in different states. That's old, Jasmine cut in. Her voice pitched higher. We were young. It was a mistake. We're not together like that anymore. Divorce records are public, Mac said calmly. There are none. You two are still married. Jasmine, Kendrick said. His voice cracked on her name. Tell me this is fake. It's not what it looks like, she said, words tumbling too fast. We had to do it for some business stuff, for his credit, for taxes. Shut up, Trey snapped. His voice turned hard. You're making it worse. Kendrick turned toward him, and even without seeing his face, you could hear the shift in his voice. You're her husband? He asked. All this time? It doesn't matter, Trey said. You signed the letter of intent. You owe us a finder's fee either way. A finder's fee, I repeated, for a fake acquisition vehicle you secretly own. That's not consulting. That's fraud and self-dealing. Paper can't show you betrayal, but the sound of Kendrick's breathing in that moment did, and we still hadn't reached the part that would hit him hardest. I reached for the next document in my folder. This one was thinner, but it landed heavier than anything else on the table. And since we're talking about lies, I said, we should talk about the one you based this entire wedding on. Jasmine's voice went sharp. Rowena, don't. You texted me on October 2nd, I said to Kendrick, ignoring her. You told me Jasmine was pregnant, that you were going to be a father. That's why the wedding had to move up. Remember? He didn't answer, but I could hear the small sound he made. It was enough. This is your insurance record, I said. She's listed as a dependent. I pulled the claims history. I slid the page toward him. There is no prenatal care, I said. No ultrasounds, no OB billing, but there is a procedure listed in March 2020. I tapped the line with my finger. Tubal ligation, I said. She had her tubes tied 4 years ago. She cannot get pregnant without surgical reversal. There is no record of reversal. The room went very quiet. Jasmine? Kendrick said. His voice barely made it out of his throat. Tell me that's wrong. Please. She broke into sobs. Big, dramatic, noisy sobs. I didn't want to lose you, she cried. You said you always wanted a family, and I panicked. I thought if I told you about Trey, you'd leave. I was going to fix it. We could adopt or find a surrogate. So you lied about a baby? He said. There was steel in his voice now. You used a child that didn't exist to get me to the altar? I was trying to save us, she insisted. You don't understand. He pushed his chair back. The legs scraped hard over the floor. Stop talking, he said. Just stop. Every lie was calculated. If you've ever been gaslit, you know this feeling. Comment I see you if this hits home. Because there's a special kind of heartbreak that comes when the person you were willing to build a life with admits they never intended to give you the life they promised. And we were about 2 seconds away from that heartbreak turning into rage. Trey decided then that he'd had enough of listening. I heard his chair scrape sharply as he lunged toward the table, hand reaching for the top document. The check. Mac moved on instinct. There was a heavy thud as both of them hit the floor. The whole room jolted with the impact. Get off me! Trey yelled. That check is mine. No, it's evidence, Mac grunted, pinning his arm. Big difference. Deputy Lowell stepped in, boots pounding, and grabbed Trey's wrist. Handcuffs snapped shut with a hard metallic click. "You're done," the deputy said. "Stop resisting." Jasmine's sobbing cut off like someone had flipped a switch. Her voice dropped all the way down to its true setting. "You're a pathetic trust fund baby, Kendrick," she spat. "You were never going to make it on your own. At least with us, you had a shot at something bigger." "That," I said quietly, "is the first honest thing you've said in this room." She turned that venom on me. "I loved your credit score, not your son," she said. "You raised a weak man who can't breathe without your money." From the corner of the room, I heard a broken sound. It took a second to realize it was my son. "I heard you," Kendrick said. His voice was shredded, every word. "Good," she said. "Maybe now you'll finally grow up." "Ma'am, turn around and put your hands behind your back," Deputy Harris said. "You're under arrest for fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy." "You can't arrest me," she shouted. "You have no proof. Your shell companies, your fake notary stamp, your offshore transfers, your active marriage to your brother, and this attempted loan signing say otherwise," Mac said. "Plus, congratulations, you just confessed motive out loud." Handcuffs snapped around her wrists. Have you ever heard someone's voice when they realize their charm doesn't work anymore? That brittle, ugly edge? That's what filled that room as they turned her toward the door. They walked them out through the front of the estate. It was 10:05 a.m. by then. Guests had started to arrive, cars' doors shut. Shoes crunched on gravel. Laughter died as soon as people saw the handcuffs. "Is that the bride? What's happening? Are those police?" The deputies read them their rights as they guided them down the front steps. "You have the right to remain silent," Deputy Harris recited. "Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Jasmine twisted back over her shoulder. "This isn't over, Rowena," she shouted. "You just humiliated your own son. He's going to hate you for this." "Add harassment to the list," I said quietly to Harris. He gave the smallest huff of a laugh. "Already noted." Trey had gone quieter now, muttering under his breath about lawyers and countersuits, but the fight had gone out of his voice. You can hear when a man's bluff has finally been called. They pushed them into the back of the cruiser. Doors slammed. The radios crackled with static as dispatch confirmed transport. Mac stepped up beside me. "You stopped them," he said. "They're not getting $1 more." I didn't answer right away. Inside the house, I could still hear my son's breathing, faint through the slightly opened upstairs window. "I stopped them," I said finally. But he's the one who has to live with the fact he almost signed his future away. Was I right to crash that wedding? Comment yes if you think so, or too far if you don't. Because paperwork and handcuffs can end a scam, but they can't tell you what to do with the pieces of a life that almost got stolen in front of you. The highway hummed under the tires as I drove Kendrick back to Potomac. November 28th, 2024. 11 a.m. The same day. The wedding that never happened already felt like something from another year. He sat in the passenger seat, seatbelt tight across his chest, staring out the window. He hadn't said a word since we left the estate, not when we passed the deputies loading Jasmine and Trey into separate cruisers, not when Mac asked if he needed anything. Not when I opened the car door for him, just silence. The kind of silence that's so heavy you can hear it pressing against the inside of your skull. Halfway home, I heard it. A sound. Small at first, a choked breath. Then his shoulders started shaking. I glanced over. His hands were covering his face. The sound coming out of him was raw, gut deep, the kind of crying that doesn't care if anyone hears. I put on my turn signal, click, 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 and pulled onto the shoulder. Gravel crunched under the tires as we rolled to a stop. I put the car in park and turned off the engine. The world went quiet except for his sobs. I unbuckled my seatbelt. The click was loud in the stillness. I reached over and took his hand. He gripped mine so hard it hurt. "I'm so stupid," he choked out. "No," I said. My voice stayed firm. "You're trusting. That's not the same thing." "She never loved me," he said. His voice cracked on the word. "No," I said. "But I do, and I'm not going anywhere." He didn't answer, just held my hand and cried until there was nothing left. Have you ever held someone while their entire world collapsed? That's what the side of a highway sounds like when everything else goes quiet. 5 days later, we sat at my dining room table with papers spread between us like a crime scene we were cataloging. December 3rd, 2024. Mid-afternoon. Winter light slanted through the window, cold and clinical. Okay, I said, pen in hand, checking items off a list. Fake invoices totaled $30,000. Wedding deposits lost. $8,000. I've filed insurance claims for the venue and the caterer. Kendrick nodded. His voice was steadier now, but still thin. And the condo account? I moved the funds the same day I froze the trust, I said. Changed the locks on your place, too. They can't touch anything. He exhaled, a shaky sound of relief mixed with exhaustion. The front door opened. Whant. Heavy footsteps. Mac. Update, he said, dropping a thick folder on the table with a thud. Florida DA wants to extradite them. Jasmine and Trey scammed a yacht club manager out of $400,000 in 2021. Same playbook. Kendrick went still. I wasn't the first? You were the fifth we know of, Mac said. He pulled out a chair, the legs scraping against the floor. Prosecutors are coordinating across 4 states. They're building a RICO case. RICO? Kendrick repeated quietly. Like the mob. Like organized crime, I said, which is exactly what they are. He set down his coffee mug. I heard the clink of ceramic against wood. Can we recover the money? He asked. Some, I said. Not all. But that's not the point anymore. Then what is? You're free, I said. They're not. But even freedom doesn't erase the feeling that you were someone's mark, not their love. And he was going to have to learn how to carry that. 2 weeks later, my phone rang. December 15th, 2024. Evening. Mom, can you come over? Kendrick's voice, tentative. I want to show you something. That was the first time he'd initiated contact since the arrests. I drove to his condo in Georgetown. When he opened the door, I heard something I hadn't heard in months. Energy. Come in, he said. I've been working on something. He led me to the kitchen table. His laptop sat open, browser tabs stacked across the top. I've been researching graduate programs, he said. Cybersecurity, fraud analysis, financial crime investigation. I stayed quiet. Let him talk. I want to learn how to do what you do, he said. His voice picked up momentum. How to see through people like her. How to protect people before they lose everything. He pulled up a page. Georgetown, University of Maryland. Application deadlines. Program requirements. I've already started the applications, he said. And I want to start fall 2025. What made you decide this? I asked. He was quiet for a second. Keys clicked as he minimized a tab. I don't want to be a victim again, he said. I want to be someone who stops people like them. My chest tightened. Then do it, I said. Will you help me? He asked. With the applications? The interviews? I'll write a recommendation letter, I said. That'll get you into any program you want. He smiled. Small but real. Thanks, Mom. This is the moment he chose to fight back. If you've ever rebuilt after betrayal, tell me in the comments how you did it. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction. It's transformation. The courtroom smelled like old wood and floor polish. December 20th, 2024. 10 a.m. Fairfax County Courthouse. Preliminary hearing. I sat in the gallery beside Kendrick. Mac sat on his other side. The prosecutor shuffled papers at the front table. Jasmine and Trey sat at the defense table in orange jumpsuits, wrists cuffed to their waists. The bailiff's voice rang out. All rise. Chairs scraped. We stood. Judge Carolyn Marks entered, black robe sweeping behind her. Be seated, she said. The gavel came down with a sharp crack. The prosecutor stood. Your Honor, the Commonwealth presents 17 counts of fraud, identity theft, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and racketeering, she said. Her voice was clear, steady. These defendants operated a sophisticated fraud ring across 4 states, targeting vulnerable individuals through romantic manipulation. The judge flipped through the case file. Pages rustled. Victims? She asked. 5 confirmed, the prosecutor said. Financial losses totaling over $800,000. Jasmine shifted in her seat. The chain between her cuffs clinked. Mr. Thorpe, the judge said, you're listed as a victim in this case. Would you like to make a statement? Kendrick stood. I heard his breath catch. He pulled a folded paper from his pocket and unfolded it slowly. Your Honor, he read, I trusted them. They stole my money, my time, and my faith in people. His voice wavered but held. But they didn't break me. They taught me to trust my gut and to trust my mother. He sat down. The judge looked at the defense table. Bail? She asked. Denied, the prosecutor said. Flight risk, previous aliases, offshore accounts. The judge nodded. Bail denied, trial date set for March 17th, 2025. The gavel came down again. Jasmine turned as the bailiff moved toward her. Her voice cut across the courtroom. "This isn't over?" she hissed, eyes locked on me. I didn't flinch. I leaned close to Kendrick. "Yes," I said quietly, "it is. It is." The courtroom door closed behind them with a heavy final thud, and just like that, the chapter ended with the sound of a lock clicking into place. Shh, Christmas Day, 2024. 6 weeks after the wedding that never happened. 3 people sat at my dining room table. Rowena, Kendrick, Mac. The tree blinked softly in the corner. Cinnamon candles burned on the counter. Plates were cleared except for crumbs and smears of gravy. Kendrick had gained weight back. His face didn't look hollowed out anymore. His voice didn't sound like it was walking on glass. Mac raised his glass. Ice clinked. "To Rowena," he said. "The only woman I know who can crash a wedding and call it a rescue mission." Kendrick raised his glass too, smiling now. "To Mom," he said, "who saved me even when I didn't want to be saved." I raised mine. "To family," I said. "The real kind." We drank. Later, Kendrick volunteered to do dishes. I heard water running in the kitchen, the clink of plates being stacked. "Mom," he called out, "where does this pot go?" "Same place it's been for 30 years, Ken," I said. "Just checking if you changed the locks on the cabinets, too," he called back. Laughter echoed through the house. Warm. Real. Mac caught my eye and smiled. I stood in the doorway, watching my son wash dishes like it was the most ordinary thing in the world. And maybe it was. Because the best protection I could give him wasn't money. It was teaching him to see the wolves before they got close enough to bite. That was 6 weeks ago. Today, Kendrick's enrolled in a cybersecurity master's program starting fall 2025. Jasmine and Trey are awaiting trial, facing 15 to 20 years each. The trust is secure. My son is safe, and I'm teaching him something I should have taught him years ago: how to audit a person's character, not just their bank statements. If you've ever had to choose between being loved and being right, you know that decision haunts you. But I'd make the same choice again. Because protecting someone sometimes means letting them hate you temporarily so they can love themselves permanently. To anyone watching this who's being isolated from family, who's being told that asking questions makes you toxic, who's being rushed into decisions that benefit someone else, trust your gut. And if your gut is screaming, call someone who knows how to audit a lie. I'm Rowena Thorpe, and I don't do family drama. I do forensic accounting. Thank you so much for watching till the end. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next one. Drop your country flag and location in the comments. I'd love to know where you're watching from. And if you're still not subscribed, seriously, what's stopping you? Your feedback means a lot and helps me improve every story.